Hey, it's amazing what you can do with low light these days. I just have an oil lamp and a low light on the other side and, just jack the exposure up and the brightness up and, it'll do. It'll do. Okay, so here I am. It is November the 9th, and it's pretty late at night. And I just wanted to share that I know the next big day on everyone's list seems to be the 11th, but I'm going through things now. How about you? I'm finding that there's much more of a closeness of what we could call the heavenly hierarchy. I'm finding that I'm feeling myself supported. And when my heart cries out in prayer for this or that, I'm feeling a nearness and a response that's so close, I keep looking up and thinking maybe I'm going to see something or someone. Now, that's overstating it a wee bit, but the thought has crossed my mind. I'm also, kind of seeming to see things out of the corner of the eye. You know how that goes. So, what I'm saying is that I'm experiencing changes happening now, all this week. And more, it's time to jointly remind ourselves we are one. There's no such thing as a person. And if that doesn't make sense, go listen to 10 or 12 hours of Muji or Eckhart or somebody. The individual is largely a myth that we've been mass hypnotized into believing in. And I'm not saying you don't exist with any kind of individuality. I'm saying we believe a whole bunch of lies around the whole concept of what's an individual. Who am I is the very best thing to ponder, the best self-inquiry for meditation. And it's good to have a guide. I also like Papa G very, very much. I've given my heart to him. He's very close to me. Nisargadatta is excellent. His book, I Am That, is free on my scribed website. I have a collection there called Favorites and Fun. And his book, I think it's toward the bottom of the first or the second page. I don't remember right now. But you can pick any one of the very short chapters in I Am That and really be brought in an instant back to center. The words of a master just do that. And so, let us all sup and partake of those words by whomever they're spoken. They're spoken by Spirit. And so let's bathe in that, most especially for the next several days. We're getting a light adjustment. I know it now. It's already incoming, and the fact that it's casting its shadow ahead of itself before the day even dawns indicates to me it's pretty intense. I'm not saying we're all going to ascend on the 11th. I hope nobody expects that. Expectations are really not a good thing. They're not a friend to you. Expectations just get in the way because they pull you out of your now. And every gift that you'll ever get is present for you here and now. But you have to be in the now. And if you're not present there, then you're not totally tuned in, tapped in. And that might interfere a wee bit with your reception of what's available. So, just consider, do what you can to erase and eliminate the concept of expectation. And I know that's a tall order, but it's a mind thing. And it's just not friendly, especially when your expectations are disappointed. But even when they're fulfilled, you weren't fully present in the lead up to them. And anything whatsoever that takes you out of the now is not your friend. I don't care what it is. Now is where we want to be. And as I say this, the joint meaning is heart. That's what I mean when I say be in heart, is be so precisely in the here and in the now. Be at the nexus of the cross where they meet. That's the spot. That's the sacred spot. And I think the dark ones put the bloody, tortured body of the Christ on that cross just to get us to turn away from it. It's such a sacred symbol. And it leads us home. It leads us into the now, into that heart space. And that's a really intriguing way to do that. All right, what am I here for? I did want to share that I'm feeling the energy adjustments. And I know this is not just for me. See, once upon a time, before we were all able to get together like this on the internet, I mean, our viewing might be time shifted. We might not be watching the lecture when it's live. We might all be watching it at different times, but we also have phony ideas around time. All time is concurrent. It's simultaneous, as if it's some great big blanket. Imagine just the most beautiful quilt that you can, and it's got all these little squares that it's composed and comprised of all over the place, and it seems infinite, it seems to go in all directions. And that's time. But see, every time is associated with a place. And so what went on at a particular time and place at somebody's now is a part of that quilt. And all of our endless nows are what goes together to make it up. And it's multidimensional because, you're living all of your embodiments right now. So me as Teresa Ann, I'm not the only presence of who I am on the quilt, because I'm living all kinds of, other parts in the play, other masks, other bodies, other lifetimes right now. And the more we stay to the here and now, the more that fine-tunes our ability to tap in to the whole. My deepest prayer, and it has been for some time, if it's for anything, is for full integration, full and complete. I want to be consciously the fullness of who and what I am. And that doesn't just mean in this lifetime, that means in all of them. That doesn't just mean in this dimension, that means in all of them. In every way, shape, and form. That is my constant plea, my constant demand and request. I'll come at it from any direction possible. Integration. I'm calling for integration and balance. And it just makes sense to stay on the cross for that. Be fully where you are, when you are. And just hush, to the extent that we can be silent, says she, spouting all these words, to the extent that we can be silent, we can better perceive, because the emptiness is the fullness. You see, when we empty out like this, to be in the here and now is to empty out. You empty yourself of the past. There it goes. You empty yourself of the future. You empty yourself of expectation, of regret, of thoughts, really, of any and every kind. And you just become here. And to do that, you're empty. All images that would float through the mind would be of the past. You wouldn't have it as an image if it wasn't something you had perceived before. So no images, no thoughts, no nothing, just being. It's very pleasant. For the most part. I mean, this isn't so available to me when the body's in pain, which it is often enough. And so, you deal with that. You take the meds, you lay down, you do whatever you have to do. But this is still there. And there's no suffering in that. It just changes everything. The more time we spend on this cross, poised precisely at the point in the center, the easier our life gets. See, they wanted us to think it was tortured and bloody and crucified to be on the cross. It's not. It's divine bliss. I mean, quietly, softly. There's different connotations for that word bliss, but it's very pleasant. There's a lovely feeling or sensation that goes with it. And so when you're sufficiently empty to be perceiving that, you've kind of let go of 3D in a way, or dived totally into it. How, you can, there's a zillion perspectives on this thing. Okay, and whichever one your heart leads you to, that one is best. Don't use someone else's, use your own. Your inner self is teaching and tutoring you right now. But to hear it, you need to be on the cross point of the vertical and horizontal beam. One is time, one is space. They're wedded right there in the here and now point. There is no such thing as time and space. It's time-space. They're inseparably wedded. They just are. And it's a physics thing. We'll get around to uncovering everything around this later. But right now, just know it's a physics thing. Time, space are inseparably woven together. They're different ways of viewing the same thing, just like sight and hearing are the same. Just like if you sing a note, that produces a color if you have the right instrumentation to see it. And each note is a different color. And so you've got sight and sound inextricably linked. And it's an illusion that what you see and what you hear is different or separate. Everything that separates out is illusory. You can't tear time apart from space, nor sight apart from hearing. Okay, so when you're at the emptiness point, at the now point, that's when you contain the whole. And you can be conscious of it. You can be aware of it. Those are the times when, let's say, I'll have a reincarnation experience. It's not a memory. When it comes up, you're living it. And it's in your now. And so I won't call it a memory. Those are the times when I can best and most effectively make my prayer for integration. I've said it before, but I'm in this space now, so I'll share it again. And it's how I dedicate my morning and my night. So, Almighty God, higher self, beloved source, I dedicate, consecrate, and offer this night this life, this all unto you. Every thought, word, deed, feeling, emotion, body, mind, soul, spirit, all that I am, across time, space, dimension, densities, incarnations. Take it and me, and make us thine and thee in full, conscious, integrated awareness. Now that's just something that years ago rose up out of my heart, and over the years it's altered and changed. It was much simpler to start with, and over time things would get added. Your heart speaks to you this way too. Maybe write it down sometime. There's power in the words of the heart, in the words that arise from there. There's great power in them. And it might not totally manifest itself at first. Chances are good that's because of the interference of mind. Mind is judging that, trying to find the worth in it. And mind is incapable of discerning gifts from heart. So anyway, I wanted to share with you that the gift is already coming and you can tune into it. Now, lately we've been talking about tears, lots of tears. Lots of us are crying. We're having intensity of emotion, whether of joy or of pain or whatever. With me, the huge majority of the time that tears are flowing, it's a joyful thing. I think the Catholic Church calls it the gift of tears. It's like it could be called a gift of the Holy Spirit. Not one of the official ones, I suppose. But I think it's coming on all of us more and more. So I want to encourage you, especially the men among you, to give vent to those tears, give vent to those feelings, whatever they are. When we connect up with spirit, that's one thing. But when we connect up with spirit with emotional intensity, that's exponentially more powerful. It's very intense. And it's a power that mankind has had, but it's been twisted, distorted, and not taken away from us. But we don't realize or recognize anymore the power in emotion and in intensity of feelings. When the tears flow, especially, if you're crying, when you're in prayer, you are blessed. And you're linking up in a most powerful way, and things are accessible to you in that state that are not otherwise. And don't look to me to understand this. I just know it to be so. And it's experientially available. See, that's the beauty of this whole waking up thing, ascension, the path, all of it. It's experientially available to all of us. There's that equality again. You know, street sweepers and kings are no different here. Children and 100-year-olds are no different here. Wealth, none of it matters. Nothing matters. There's an equality of availability of light and of the path of going home. Home in consciousness. I don't need to leave anywhere. I'm committed to be here for the duration. I'm committed to serve. I believe that I've been in the light, in the fullness of the light already, and that I came in here to do this, and so I'm not going anywhere. So when I say go home, I capitalize it, and that means home in consciousness. I want the full conscious awareness of who and what I am. and I want it anchored here and now. That's my demand. That's my prayer. And Source hears about it frequently, regularly. So I suppose I've rambled on long enough. I wish you all a happy 11th. But no matter when you're watching this, remember now, time is simultaneous. If it's the 12th, if it's the 15th, the 25th, and you're watching this, time is simultaneous. And if you can get your mind out of the way, you can have the direct experience of this anytime. There's a thought. See you again soon. Time to jointly remind ourselves we are one. There's no such thing as a person. And if that doesn't make sense, go listen to 10 or 12 hours of Muji or Eckhart or somebody. The individual is largely a myth that we've been mass hypnotized into believing in. Okay, so here I am. It is November the 9th, and it's pretty late at night. And I just wanted to share that I know the next big day on everyone's list seems to be the 11th, but I'm going through things now. How about you? I'm finding that there's much more of a closeness of what we could call the heavenly hierarchy. I'm finding that I'm feeling myself supported. And when my heart cries out in prayer for this or that, I'm feeling a nearness and a response that's so close, I keep looking up and thinking maybe I'm going to see something or someone. Now, that's overstating it a wee bit, but the thought has crossed my mind, I'm also, kind of seeming to see things out of the corner of the eye. You know how that goes. So what I'm saying is that I'm experiencing changes happening now all this week. And more, it's hey, it's amazing what you can do with low light these days. I just have an oil lamp and a low light on the other side, and just jack the exposure up and the brightness up, and it'll do. It'll do.